Pause that. Recording.
Trying this again. Can you hear me
Hey,
okay?
I hear you. Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
You guys are pausing on me,
Ah,
so I'm gonna just go and hope for the best.
plow ahead.
This meeting is
That was close.
Yeah.
Did y'all catch any of that?
No, I just heard this meeting is. The suspense is killing me.
This meeting has been suspended.
I'm just gonna change my name. I'll let him use my computer because
Okay.
There you go.
I have good connection for some reason.
Very noble of you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll go twiddle my thumb somewhere else for a bit.
I'll let you in when you show up, I promise.
There you go.
and you guys hear me now.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Chris for the win.
Have fun.
This meeting is called to order. The Northern Middlesex MPO today, June 25th, 2025. You're invited to participate in our transportation planning process, regardless of your race, color, national origin, including limited English proficiency, religion, creed, gender, ancestry, ethnicity, disability, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, veteran status, or background. Kelly, when you're ready, please call the roll.
All right. Let's see here. We have Derek Schuster,
Derek Schuster representing MassDOT Secretary and CEO. Monica Tibbetts not here.
Brian Fallon,
Brian Fallon representing Highway Administrator Jonathan Gulliver.
all right, Pat Wochus,
Here.
Karen Pulio,
Here.
Stephen Thmelis,
Yeah.
and I don't see Tom Baumel on the line, and I know Wayne Janess is unable to attend today, but we do have quorum.
Okay, good.
Next item is open forum. Are there any members from the public present who wish to make comment at this time? Seeing and hearing none, if anyone from the public wishes to make comment during today's MPO meeting, please just use the raise hand feature and the chair will call on you. Next item on today's agenda is an action item for approval of the minutes from the May 28th Northern Middlesex MPO meeting. Could I please have a motion and second to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Stephen and Pat. Are there any comments or revisions proposed for the minutes?
Only one, Chair. My name is spelled with an I. I don't know if that's a big deal, but
Oh, sorry.
I think that happened. That happened in last month's as well. BRIAN.
Misspelled. Yeah, I think we spelled it BRYAN instead of BRIAN. We'll correct that.
All right. If there are no other changes, when you're ready, Kelly, please call the roll.
All right, Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Pat Wochus, Stephen Thmelis,
Yes.
Brian Fallon,
yes.
Karen Pulio.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
All right. Next item on today's agenda is tip amendment number 4 to the federal fiscal year 25 to 29 tip. Is this Kelly or Blake?
I'm going to hand this over to Apple.
Apple. Go ahead, Apple.
So this amendment is specifically for the federal fiscal year 2026, and it affects project works.
We can't hear you that well.
Oh, you want to come up closer here?
Yeah, please.
Okay. All right, let's try it again. So amendment 4 for federal specifically impacts federal fiscal year 2026 for project 608227, which is phase 1 of the Yankee Doodle bike path construction in Billerica. This involves a cost increase of $7,324,487 to the project, and then The reason the value has changed, there are three main reasons. The project required additional traffic management plans on Route 3 and along Elliott Street and Orchard Road. This results in changes in work zone staging and additional pavement restoration work following the construction. And this has increased total project costs by approximately $1.8 million. The second portion of the price increase is that there have been changes in the design development of bridge structures based on MassDOT comments. And these have added cost increases, especially at Elliott Street and Orchard Road, increasing the value by almost $5 million. And then this is further broken down into changes in prefabricated costs and then changes in like foundational costs. Additionally, there are smaller cost increases around things like changes in prices of construction materials, revised landscaping plans, required soil removal and treatment processes. And this total is equivalent to $746,487. We are requesting that you vote to release this TIP amendment for public comment, which is with a public comment period open through July 16th, 2025. And you can choose to make the conditional approval should no adverse comments be received, as there is no meeting.
We're not meeting in July,
In
so
July.
MassDOT has given us the ability to, MassDOT's approved the MPO to release it for conditional approval if that's what you feel is okay.
Yeah, and just to explain that a little further, if there are any comments, adverse or otherwise, that do require MPO discussion, then MPO staff would communicate to the board members whether the regularly scheduled meeting or another July meeting would need to happen for a formal
Mhm.
endorsement to take place. I hope that makes
Correct.
sense. All right, thank you for the presentation, Apple. Does anyone have any questions about the TIP amendment as presented? Yes, Karen.
Just one question. What's the original amount of the project?
I had that open on my other computer. One second.
Sorry,
Chris,
I'm-
like me, has these hyperlinks saved to favorites, so just give me a moment, I'll pull it up for you.
Sure.
608227. All right, so the project was its current TFPC, total federal participating construction cost, is now $24.4 million. And the project was originally proposed to just be funded for $17 million this year. But due to the $7.3 million cost increase, and this is a statewide program, not regional target priority funds. The statewide bike program management team decided that they could use available CMAQ funding in FFY 2026 to fund the increase for this project of $7.3 million. So it's gone up about 40% in cost.
Yeah, that's what I was just doing, the 43%, 42.9. Okay.
Yeah.
And did you just know, and when was the last time it was estimated? I'm just trying to figure out. I mean, I just know, increases are all over the place right now. I'm just
Yeah, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the last submission, an estimate came from the spring. I want to say maybe February or March.
Yeah, that's right. It was relatively a short time ago.
okay. And
Yeah.
the bridge structure design change, is that just one bridge? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the area in Billerica. Is it just one bridge? Is it several bridges? Is it going over highway? I'm just curious.
I want to say it's multiple structures and it's going over like wetland areas.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks very much. I appreciate the feedback.
No, those are great questions, Karen. Any other questions from the board or others?
I just had one, Derek. Is this like an extension of the Yankee Doodle bike path? Is that what's going on here? Or is just reconstruction of the original path? Or what exactly is happening?
I believe this is an extension. Is that right, Brian?
Yeah, that's correct. It's an extension.
how much distance are we talking? Miles or, in
There's
terms of extension?
there's two phases. This
Okay.
phase, I want to say it's about a mile. I can check on that for you, Steve.
That's all right. Yeah, just generally speaking, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to equate the cost to what's, the distance, that's all, in my mind.
Yeah, I can get back to you with the limits and the length after this
Yeah.
meeting.
And back to Karen's question, in terms of the actual bridge construction, where are they? And if you can find that out, is it one bridge? Is it, two?
Yep.
What's it going over? Like, is it a state road? Is it, county road or whatever?
Yeah, it's mostly to avoid wetland impacts, so it's going to be kind
Okay.
of going over wetlands. And I think it's multiple structures, but I can get you that information too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually have the project boundaries up on my ESTIP tool incidentally. And I know MPO staff have access to that. So it looks like the southern boundary of the trail begins around Concord Street in Billerica, just east/northeast of Chelmsford Road. And then continues north, I imagine under or over Route 3 across a series of wetlands and quite a distance north until it reaches the North Billerica commuter rail station.
Oh, okay.
And if I could just clarify, there is a future phase of this that is programmed on the state tip for 2027. So this is phase 1, and then phase 2 is programmed for an out year.
Additionally, I have the ramp structure that is most impacted by this is the ramp and bridge structure at Elliott Street Orchard Road, which is what requires additional traffic management and work zone setups. So we have on the summary, we have points 1 and 2, and those are all kind of the same area of where additional traffic management needs to occur so that those structures can be built. Those primarily where those costs are coming from.
Thanks, Apple. If there's no other questions, could we please have, oh, go ahead, Karen.
Right. Pat had a question too in the
Oh,
room.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Karen, then Pat.
I just want to be sure that this is
Oh, Pat,
amendment 4 on the agenda. It says amendment 5.
That's a scrivener's error. It is amendment 4. Yeah.
Just want to make sure we
Yeah.
have the right number.
Yes. Yeah.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you. And mine's a quick question on the world of, when these all started, bike paths, bikes were not electrified or powered by something other than people's legs. And then there's other, right? So typically, and I'm just curious from a safety standpoint, if there's, and it may not be related, by the way, to this, it may be a future conversation, but with more and more electrification of small vehicles or small motor devices, I guess, is there any conversation about how to keep pedestrians and traditional bicyclists safe in the world of adding, other electrified vehicles, which can go much faster than those type of vehicles?
That's a great question, Karen. From what I understand, a lot of the design guidelines that MassDOT and the partner design agencies implement with new projects like this take into consideration some of these emerging modes, but I think you're right that there's probably a bigger policy level discussion about, what's appropriate or inappropriate for some of the shared use paths. Like, this isn't for motorized vehicles. Like, it's not for cars or trucks or motorcycles, but, until the state actually indoctrinates like actual language on, okay, are we talking like multi-horsepower vehicles or capping it at 1 horsepower, which I think is like 750 watts or something, and or speed limits. Some trails that the state has constructed, and possibly in your region as well, actually have posted speed limits, including over certain bridge structures or approaching intersections. But I think that's a design level question that I would raise, if not on this phase, on a future phase of this project or other trails as a concern for certain. Brian, did I miss anything?
No, that sounds about right. I don't think I would have anything to add to that.
Okay.
Yeah, most
Yeah.
local communities are facing the same issues, obviously. You see it in even your own towns you live in. So, yeah, it's gonna be something more statewide, I would think, too. Jared, I think you're right on that.
Uh, Unrelated, I'm on an active transportation advisory committee in the community I live in, and this is, a very big concern. We have a regionally significant trail where I live that, as more and more people have been riding on it, we definitely are concerned about safety on that trail, and I think it's definitely a good and important consideration for any of the trail investments or on-street facilities for multimodal users that this body is taking into account. And, to MPO staff's credit, I think that you've raised some of these considerations for your long-range transportation plan and for your active transportation plan that I believe you're working on if you haven't already endorsed. I forget where you are on that.
We're actively working at it. It's actually later in the agenda, so.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's definitely a consideration that can and should be, baked in there. So we can talk more about
Yeah.
that during that agenda item. All right. Can I please have a motion and second to release tip amendment number 4 as presented for 21-day public comment with conditional approval should no adverse comments be received?
So moved.
Second,
All right. Motion has been made and seconded. Kelly, please call the roll.
Yeah, Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
yes.
Stephen Themelis,
Yes,
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Karen Pulio.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Apple. Next item is federal fiscal year 2025 Unified Planning Work Program Amendment number 4.
Great. So this was an amendment that you released for public comment at the last meeting. The primary reason for the amendment is because the timing for our Greater Lowell Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan is now going to span 2 federal fiscal years. And so we needed to do a budget correction with MassDOT to move $60,000 from this federal fiscal year budget into the next one. But along with that, since it is a good mid-year point, we did want to recalibrate our staff time and staff allocation of hours to various tasks. So again, the primary purpose is to forward fund the bike and ped plan into 2026. But then we did do adjustments across codes. We released this, you released this for public comment. We had a public meeting on June 4. We also monitored our mail and our email addresses. We didn't receive any public comments as part of this amendment. And so we have basically what has been posted to the agenda for this meeting is almost identical to what was presented last month, just with the exception of we updated it to reflect budget figures based on June 13 instead of last month we had presented it as budget figures from May 15. So the amounts that we're moving are pretty much the same. And I think what we're requesting is a vote to endorse the amendment, and then we would follow up with MassDOT to formalize that. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to respond.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. Are there any questions from the board on the UPWP amendment as presented? Seeing and hearing none, could I please have a motion and second to endorse UPWP amendment number 4?
motion to endorse amendment.
Second,
Thank you. Kelly, please call the roll.
And Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
yes.
Stephen Themelis,
Yes,
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Karen Pulio.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe next item is the federal fiscal year 2026 Unified Planning Work Program. Before you start on this, Kelly or staff, I did see your email yesterday, Kelly, asking the $9,000 question. I'm just trying to get a little more information from our fiscal department before I get back to you, but
That's
I hope
fine.
that doesn't
That's
have any
fine.
bearing on this action.
It does not. It does
Okay.
not. That is just a conditional element that could be added later. So
Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Go ahead.
All right. So another thing that you released for public comment last month, this is our work plan for the next federal fiscal year. So this is work that we would begin in October, on October 1. We're now in June, And so we had a public hearing, same as with the last UPWP amendment. We had a public hearing on June 4. We released this we reached out to our municipal partners to try to understand if there was any feedback from municipal staff and municipal leadership. We posted this on our social media accounts and through legal advertisements. We didn't receive any comments on the, we also shared this with Federal Highway and Federal Transit and MassDOT. The only comments we received were really minor comments from MassDOT, so I appreciate MassDOT's thorough review. With that in mind, the budget allocations are largely the same as what we had proposed in our original UPWP. I just want to highlight a few projects that if you vote to endorse this today, that we'll be working on in the next federal fiscal year. Some key elements will be, should we be starting a long-range transportation plan, we'll be working on kind of developing some preliminary research papers to set us up for that. So that would be one of the first elements of this. We're also looking at identifying potential funding sources for the TIP that would be maybe a separate, like taking some of our TIP funding and identifying the feasibility or viability of creating a funding stream for bicycle and pedestrian improvements, and then potentially a separate funding stream for design to help our communities kind of get over that hurdle of paying for design is one of the big hurdles in preparing projects for the TIP. And so we want to explore what would it take to set up a program like that? What would the right amounts be to allocate to that from our overall TIP allocation? We also would be working on 2 key corridor projects, one in Lowell, near the Woburn Street ramps off of I-495. So that's to look at current conflicts between the Home Depot distribution center and the trucking and backups that are occurring on those ramps, and looking at what safety improvements would be there. And then in a very kind of different condition, looking at Route 113 in Dunstable. So looking at what a complete streets profile would look like for that corridor. And then finally, doing additional Vision Zero implementation. So actually getting some road safety audits out and doing some studies to really identify what those core safety improvements would be in order to make conditions safer for everyone, both people driving as well as people who are vulnerable road users, people who are walking and biking. So those would be the key elements that you would be endorsing. As I mentioned, we had this out for public comment. We didn't receive any comments except for minor comments from MassDOT, and those you can see in Appendix B of the document that was posted to our agenda. And so we are happy to entertain any questions, but we're also looking for an endorsement today. That's it from me.
Thank you, Kelly. Does anyone from the board or public have questions or comments to the 2026 Unified Planning Work Program? Yes, Karen.
It's really just a comment. I just want to express gratitude. I know the work that goes into providing something with this detail. I just really want to comment of how helpful it is and just appreciation for the work. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. I'll echo that sentiment as well. This is one of the big deliverables from the NPO every year and obviously indicative of the work that you perform. So good work on putting this together.
Many thanks to a good team for that.
All right. Could we please get a motion and second to endorse the 2026 Unified Planning Work Program?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Kelly, please call the roll.
All right. Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes.
Stephen Thamalis,
Yes.
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Karen Pulio.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. And Derek, I will be in touch with you or Miranda with follow-up contract documents and forms.
Yep. If you can forward Miranda and me the signature page, we'll make sure to get
Great.
an e-signature on that promptly.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Next item is an action item for federal transportation reauthorization. I think this was the letter.
Yes, and actually don't even have a slide for this because we're requesting to postpone this until August.
Sounds good.
We have enough time to pull something together by then, and I think it's just given everything else that's been going on, it was maybe a little ambitious to put it on this month's agenda. So
Okay. Any thoughts from MPO board members before we continue? All right. Next is the TIP project review study.
Do you want me to click next, or do you want to? You can come over if you want. Yeah. All right, so Emmanuel will be presenting this.
Okay, hello everyone. The purpose of the you can hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
The purpose of the TIP review study is to compile and review data relative to the completed projects funded through the Transportation Improvement Program of the Northern Middlesex. And another purpose is to compare the safety outcome of after the countermeasure is implemented to really try to see whether the improvement is effective or not. By evaluating project outcomes and measuring safety benefit, NMPO and regional partners can make more effective data-driven decision on future federal fundings. To assess the safety improvement of this intersection, staff used both qualitative as well as quantitative measure of effectiveness. The most widely accepted quantitative measure of effectiveness, the MOEs, are looking at the total number of crashes, the equivalent property damage only score, and also try to see the intersection crash rate per million of vehicles entering the intersection. We also did a qualitative assessment through stakeholder surveys and site visits to see the safety and operation and user experience. This is the project area. Okay. Yeah. This is the project area, and project starts from the intersection of Turnpike Road and Bilarka Road and goes all the way to the Industrial Avenue. And that is the intersection between Bilarka and River Neck Road. On the River Neck Road, improvement goes all the way 400 feet into the River Neck Road. Looking at the prior condition, both Bilarka and River Neck Roads are urban minor arterials with high traffic volume. There were three major issues: congestion, safety issues, pedestrian and bicycle deficiencies. The congestion is mainly caused by the lack of left turn lane that goes into River Neck Road. Safety issues because of the wide lanes, the narrow shoulders that encourage speeding. There is also faded or missing pavement markings, and there were huge rear-end crashes happening. Looking at the data that, for the past 10 years before construction, there were around 11 rear-end crashes that happened because of lack of auxiliary left turn lane. And there is also a lack of pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure with incomplete sidewalk, not accessible transit stops, and no formal crossings in the area. Looking at the improvements, you can see the before and after photo, and you can see that there is an addition of auxiliary left turn lane on the River Lake Road, and there's also realignment of the intersection into a T configuration to simplify vehicle movements and reduce conflict points. There's also improved signage and visibility. Before construction, there was only one stop sign in River Neck Road for vehicles coming from River Neck Road, and that stop sign is mounted on a utility pole. But after the improvement, you can see that there are improved signage and visibilities in the area. There is also accommodation for bicyclists and pedestrians. This is the overall improvement in the intersection of Bilarka and River Neck Road. Furthermore, we also take a look at the improvements on Bilarka Road. We can see that there is improved enhanced signage and visibility, improved crosswalk with pedestrian signals. There is also accommodation for bicyclists and also ADA compliant sidewalks and ramps. And the project also goes all the way to the intersection of Bilarka Road and Israel Avenue. We can see that there is an installation of mid-block crosswalk with RRFB to improve side distances and improve pedestrian safety. There is also enhanced signage and visibility, accommodation for bicyclists, and also ADA and ABB compliant sidewalks and ramps. We also take a look at the crash trends and severity summary as a part of a quantitative assessment. Looking at the total crashes, we evaluated on a 3-year crash trend basis. And you can see that the crash rate remains a steady 5 for the year 2013 to 2015 and also 2016 to 2018. And you can see that after construction, there was only one crash that occurred post-construction. And that crash is mainly due to a human factor. And we also looked at the Chelmsford Police Department's crash report to really see what would be the cause of that. And the reason is a vehicle trying to turn left from Billar Car Road into River Neck Road without having enough time and space. So there is clearly a human factor. And that teaches us that even though infrastructure is improved, there should be also education and awareness program to also have a full effect on safety. Looking at the 3-year average EPDO score, EPDO score means the equivalent property damage only score that tells how severe the crashes are. And MassDOT uses the EPDO scores to also classify top 100 and top 200 crash locations in the region. You can see that crash severity decreased from 5.87 marks in the 2013 to 2015 period to only 0.83. So this shows us that not just the frequency, but also the crash severity has decreased throughout the time. We also take a look at the manner of collision, try to find out whether the addition of the auxiliary left turn lane has effect or not on the safety of vehicles in the area. We see that before construction, on the 10-year period, there were a total of 11 rear-end crashes in that intersection area. When women in that intersection areas, we did a buffer of 200 feet to try to see the influence area. And there are 11 rear-end crashes before construction. And after construction, there's 100% improvement and there is only 0 crashes. So that's a huge improvement by adding the auxiliary left turn lane. Looking at the crash rate before the construction is 0.18. That is the measure for from 2010 to 2014. In a 4-year period, we got this data from the functional design report. And after construction, the crash rate reduces to 0.06. We calculated it on the period from 2022 to 2024. And after, we also compare this with MassDOT's District 4 average and statewide district average to try to see whether how this crash rate compared to the MassDOT District 4 and also statewide. And the statewide average is for unsignalized intersection is 0.57. So the crash rate stays far below the state average and also District 4 average. Looking at the key safety improvements, we look at it from 2 perspectives. The first thing is to see the intersection improvement. And we also looked at the overall project area because the improvement goes far beyond the intersection, and there are several improvements, including complete street implementation, pedestrian signal improvements. So we also take a look at the overall project area, and we selected the year 2015 to 2017, and we compare it post-construction data we got from 2022 to 2024. And we see that specific to the intersection, there were a total of 6 crashes before in the 2015 to 2017 phase, and there's only 1 crash that shows 83% decrease. The crash severity or the APDO score also reduced from 18 to 1, that is a 94% decrease. The crash rate also decreased from 0.18 to 0.06, that is 66% decrease. And looking at the overall project area, that means from the intersection of Turnpike and Billar Car Road onto the easterly side of the intersection with Industrial Avenue, and also 400 foot inside the River Neck Road. That is the total project area, and we see that there were a total of 8 crashes in the 2015 and 2017, and now there is only 3 crashes, so that shows 62% decrease. Looking at the severity of the crashes, we see that they are reduced from 24 to 7, so that is a 70% decrease. Overall, we can say that there is substantial reduction in both crash frequency and severity. So this confirms a strong benefit of the transportation improvement program. We also looked at the project speed and mobility, whether like how the project impacted the speed and mobility of the area. Looking at the graph, we see that the regulated speed limit of the area is 35 miles per hour, both before construction and after construction. Before construction, actually, the posted side limit is 30 miles per hour. And we see from the data we got from MS2 is that the 85 percentile speed is now currently 42.7 miles per hour. That is 7 miles per hour above the speed limit. They actually designed the roadway to accommodate vehicles 40 miles per hour speed, but that's the ceiling on how much, like in total, the roadway can accommodate, but that doesn't mean that it should be that way. But the speed limit is 35, and we see that the 85 percentile speed for 2022 to 2024 shows us that it is now 42.7 miles per hour. That is 7 miles per hour above the speed limit. That tells us also that 71% of the vehicles now are speeding above the speed limit. This shows a clear compliance issue. We know that higher speed equals lower safety, especially at intersections, because speed is directly related to injury severity because of the kinetic energy that is created during crashes. The higher the speed, the more kinetic energy and the more impact it will have on human body. So as part of the Vision Zero is also what part of our work is to maintain speed compliance. So we recommend enforcement, speed enforcement, signage and gateway treatment is in that area. As part of this tip review study, we also conducted a stakeholder survey to try to identify user perception and also stakeholders that were involved in the project, from MassDOT district staff to project abettors and users of roadway, and also consultant and municipal staff. We got around 17 responses, and we got feedback on safety perception, mobility, accessibility, future models, and recommendation. Regarding safety perception, 87% of respondents saw improved safety. The key feature they mentioned as a key feature of the project is addition of a dedicated auxiliary left turn lane. 80% of them voted that. And there's also realignment of the intersection, and signage improvement is also 67% voted as a key improvement of the project. Regarding mobility, 77% report that there is a smoother traffic flow and there is no delay concerns. Regarding accessibility, 86% rated pedestrian access as good or better, and 67% affirmed that complete streets goals are met. And we also asked respondents what they will think should be used as a model for future projects, and they told us the top 3 choices are prioritizing pedestrian and bicycle safety, supporting complete street design principles, and also emphasize a more community engagement before projects. And there are, on the other side, there are unintended consequences of the project. Earlier, we see the impact on speed, and now we see 3 unintended consequences from the public feedback. One of it is bike lane misuse. Stakeholder noted that some drivers use the bike lane on River Neck Road as a de facto right turn lane, indicating a mismatch between intended use and driver behavior. There's also a modal conflict. We receive a comment on frequent U-turns near River Neck Road in trans, suggesting that there is now excessive available space that influences driver decision making. Regarding perceived safety gaps, there are some concerns over crosswalk confusion and cemetery access, but we also take a look at the site and the crash data, but the perception in this aspect lags behind safety data. In order to conclude and give recommendations, this tip funded improvement project addressed is very successful in addressing the project goals of relieving traffic congestion along Route 129 and also improved intersection safety. Also was successful in enhancing pedestrian and bicycle accommodation, also advances the town's complete street policy goals. Based on what we learned from this project, we also give feedback on implementing speed management strategies like gateway treatments and signage. Also conduct user education to promote complete street usage specific to the complete street projects. Also incorporate post-project monitoring into future TP evaluation. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
Thank you.
That was a great presentation. I had a question actually just about the correlation with crashes before and after the project. Do we know if there were any changes on the average daily traffic at this location?
Yeah.
Do you know if there were changes or if the AADT
Yeah.
increased or stayed the same?
That decreased actually.
Oh, okay, it decreased.
In average.
Okay.
13,000. But now it's looking at the 2024, it's around 12,000.
So it's gone down by about 1,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know in some locations, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, where you saw less traffic, you saw higher speed. So I was wondering if there might be a relation with the higher speed and not just the design of the improvement. But
Yes.
it's still great to see that, crashes drop significantly following the project. So I just wanted to say on the record, I think these tip look backs at completed projects and benefits or the feedback that you get from the community where the projects happen are a great practice. I would actually recommend or encourage sharing this presentation with some of the other regions, just because I don't think enough MPOs in the Commonwealth do them, and I always look forward to and enjoy them when NIMCOG hosts them. So again, Emmanuel, I thought that was a great presentation.
Derek, if I can just add, I just want to commend Emmanuel, like he introduced a level of rigor to this that we haven't really had so far. I think like looking at a lot of how it relates to our Vision Zero plan, and also like he was out there trying to hand deliver surveys to abutters. So I think the additional element of getting that qualitative perspective really enhanced the report and the analysis.
Awesome. Well, great job. Any other thoughts?
You just have.
Yeah.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
Pat.
Okay, well, I know that intersection very well, so I definitely appreciate this, and, I could tell that there was improvements, and it's good to see that it was followed up by the data, so just a couple of questions I have. So 129, is that a state, like, if we want to change the speed limit there, is that something the state would have to do, or is the town authorized to do that? Anybody know the answer to that?
Not off the top of my head, Brian or Derek, do you know if this is 129, is that a state road? Could the town change the speed limit on that road?
I believe it's a state road. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I actually, I was gonna say, I don't think it is in this location, but I can double check. But as far as the speed zoning goes, I think you'd still have to go through that process of, doing the 85th percentile and kind of determining the speed limit from that. But if it is a state road, we would still need to do that. If it's a town road, that's a different story, because I think you can adopt the 25-mile-per-hour town speed limit on town roads. But again, I'd have to check and see this particular location as far as if it's state or local.
Okay.
Yeah, 129 crosses through many communities, and I do believe there are differences in ownership, including a segment on US 1, and that's where I was thinking of.
Yeah, just curious. I mean, it sounds like maybe an adjustment to the speed limit is warranted based on your reporting. And I guess the other thing I would ask, would it be helpful to change the entry to the cemetery? Because, like you say, it is kind of awkward the way it's almost like, right between Riverneck Road and Berwick Road, it's. I don't know if you can tell on that, where.
Is it here?
Yes, it's that road that goes out to the right, get rid of the neighborhood too. I don't know if that would be better, because some, you know, I often see people go up that road expecting it to be a town road or something, and then they realize they're going to a cemetery. I don't know if that would be beneficial to adjust that. So anyway, that's all my comments. I definitely appreciate this. And so, is it posted somewhere that?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, and I'll follow up to the whole list
Okay.
after this with another link to the report, so you
Okay.
can have an access to it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you again for the presentation and the report.
Derek?
Go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, I just had general questions regarding the bike safety. Are there state width standards for bike lanes, and do those standards fluctuate depending on the existing road width? And one more question would be, do local towns need state permission to implement a bike lane?
Can you just repeat the second question?
Oh, yeah. Second question was on the standards. Do they fluctuate depending on the dimensions of the existing roadway in terms of what the bike lane can be and not be? I don't even know what the standard is for a bike lane to begin with. Is it like 3 feet? Is it 4 feet? Is it whatever it is?
I believe the answer is yes, there are standards. Brian
Okay.
can speak more
Sure.
to them and what's looked at.
Yeah, not to go into the weeds, just generally speaking.
Yeah, in a general way, yes, there are different standards for different roadways, and it's basically based upon speed and
Okay.
EDT, average daily traffic. So anything over 10,000 or 40 miles an hour, you would need to have some kind of protected bike lane, which would be either a buffer, a painted buffer, or separated. Anything less than 40 and 10,000, you can use a 5-foot bike lane. And I think that's what you see in this this design here. They use the 5-foot bike lane, but that's the minimum width is 5 feet.
And
So
also,
obviously,
a few years ago, the state also passed a safe cycling ordinance, or safe passing ordinance of 4 feet. And there's a program for municipalities to get signage on roadways, just publicizing that since it's a relatively new law. So that's inclusive of roadways that don't necessarily have a safe place to cycle. Cyclists are by right allowed to ride on most roadway classifications in
there you go.
Massachusetts.
So the local towns need state permission to implement a bike lane for starters?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think for Mass DOT projects, we require pedestrian bicycle accommodation on any project we consider, and unless there's justification as to why it can't be provided, we pretty much require it on all our projects. So, that's kind of one of the first things we look at when we at PRC, when we're looking at a new project, is whether it does have those elements and bicycle accommodation and a bike lane and the correct one too, whether it be like if it's needed to be a separated bike lane, we would make that comment pretty early in the process. And the designer and the proponent would know that that's what we'd be looking for.
Right, but
Yeah, I
my
Go ahead.
comment about the requirement was just if a community is using their Chapter 90 or other means to fund a municipal project, I don't believe the state has requirements on those. It is,
Okay.
to Brian's
Yeah,
point, once it becomes a MassDOT project and goes through the PRC process.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, just local control and authority, but I think you said it right in terms of what options you may have. It's not a, funded state project, and say if local town wants to put a bike lane in, on their, local town road. And basically the cost doesn't sound like it'd be exorbitant unless it's gonna be something else that gonna tie in, like you said, speed, depending on the traffic counts, like you said, Brian, or speed zones, whatever that may be. So maybe there's other factors that are there that influence the size of that bike path and where you can actually put it.
Thanks, Stephen. Any other comments? All right, let's continue with the agenda then. I believe the next item is new MPO members process.
Yes, this is just something I wanted to raise to your attention. The MPO endorsed an updated memorandum of understanding back in March of this year. That's when our prior MOU expired. In that new MOU, we have we have some minor changes to the composition of the MPO, and then we also have some new potential members, some potential ex officio members. And so I just wanted to start this conversation today because in the MOU, it states that we need to have our new membership or we need to re-up our current membership by September 30 of this year. So just in time for the start of the new federal fiscal year. The things that are in italics and red here are because there are maybe either minor or major changes. So, as normal, the Secretary and CEO of MassDOT, the MassDOT Highway Administrator, the chief elected official from the city of Lowell. Right now, Wayne fills that position. Right now, Pat fills the position of the select board member from a Northern Middlesex community elected to serve on the council. And then Karen fills the position of the LRTA advisory board member. Those positions are all stated. They have not changed. The two things that have changed is that both the chair of NMCOG and the chair of the LHEA advisory board now have the ability to appoint other members from their boards to serve in their stead. So part of the reason I mention this is because I know, we've had some time conflicts, some scheduling conflicts with our LRTA representative. And so I'll be working with the LRTA to see if their board chair, instead of serving as a member of the MPO, wishes to appoint someone else from the advisory board to fill that position. Because I think it would be helpful to have Karen, not to negate your participation, I greatly appreciate you being here. But I think having an additional member of the LRTA advisory board on the MPO on a regular basis would be beneficial. So those two positions, they can be appointed from the rest of that body. The other thing is the addition of actually three, and I should have highlighted this first one on the ex officio member. So we have the ability to have new non-voting members, one from a smaller Northern Middlesex community, particularly Dunstable, Pepperell, or Tingsboro, if not represented by a voting member. Right now, Karen is a resident of Tingsboro, so she could potentially serve that seat. But if we wanted to have another ex officio member to fill that role, we could have one. And then these other two additions, which is the individual or organization representing the interests of an environmental justice community, and then an individual or organization representing the interests of people who walk by bike walker role. And so those are three ex officio positions that we will be starting to communicate out that we're looking to fill. I just wanted to raise this to your attention now because we'll be looking to have we need to have a formal written communication to our executive director by September 30, designating all of the individuals who are going to serve on the MPO. So just to give you a heads up that communication from us is coming. And if you have any questions about the MOU or these changes, I'm happy to answer those now.
Thank you, Kelly. I actually have a question, mainly about the ex officio members. So we could start really across all of them. Do you already have people or representatives from these communities or organizations in mind?
We had somebody who has expressed interest in the individual or organization representing the interests of people who bicycle, walk, or roll. We don't necessarily have expressed interest from someone else. So we'll be doing an open search for that.
Okay, and if someone's not identified by September 30th, is it just listed as vacant?
Yes, it'd be listed as vacant. And because they're ex officio, they don't necessarily contribute to quorum. So that obviously we want to have these individuals participating in our conversations because they bring a different perspective to decision making. But the key goal is making sure that we have quorum so that we can vote on key decisions. So
okay.
Yeah.
So if you had more than one volunteer, I guess you could say, from one of those, how would you select to be that member?
That is a good question. I think that would probably be up to the board. The NPO would probably make that determination. So we would bring those candidates to the board and you could make that vote based on their qualifications.
Karen?
I think this is great. My only suggestion, and I just tend to be a little bit more narrowed, is in those ex officio, I think those are great spots that we're adding. If we could just make it clear that it's from one of our voting communities or from one of the communities representative.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. And it may be clearer written somewhere else, but I just want to make sure that that piece is clear.
Yeah, I think it's clearer in the MOU. I'm just trying to summarize here, but that's a really
Yeah, perfect. No,
Yeah.
great. Thank you so much. I do appreciate this, the additional representation. I think it's smart.
I think I need to look at my vacation schedule. This a joke.
Well, I think we're giving you July off, but
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
I just have one more concern or caution, particularly for the ex officio member, an individual or organization representing the interests of an environmental justice community. I think because of some of the language and direction coming from the current administration at the federal level, it's not to say that I believe NPO staff and board members know MassDOT's position on this is that, we're supportive of the work that you've done for years and in prioritizing environmental justice communities and whatnot. But given some of that language and what it means for 3C planning, just to be conscious of that consideration. It's not to say that you shouldn't continue doing work to that effect, but just staying apprised to what that means for your work moving forward and any scrutiny it may lend to the NPO during your certification processes in coming years.
Yeah, I think, Derek, one thing I might want to follow up with you on is whether or not we should amend the MOU to change that language to reflect what the administration currently refers to it as, which is an underserved community. So it's a change in name, but not impact. So I think if that's something that would help us with future compliance, but it doesn't actually change the intent, then we could explore that.
Yeah, other NPOs have, as you know, Kelly, tried to identify how do we prioritize the work that we've continued or been doing, but strike that balance from a federal compliance standpoint. So we can certainly talk more about that.
All right.
So Kelly, on the NPO members, so you're saying that the list here, each one can appoint somebody else in their absence? Is that what I'm reading between the lines here?
Yes, so and the right now MassDOT has that ability, and for example, Derek today is serving as chair instead of Monica Tibbetts-Nutt. Brian is here instead of Jonathan Gulliver. So MassDOT has that ability. In our updated MOU, that ability is also granted to the chair of NMCOG and the chair of the LRTA advisory board. So it's just it's a little bit of an expansion in I think flexibility and making sure that we have quorum and that we have participation from everyone.
I agree. That's great. Thank you.
So on those two, the chair of NMCOG and the chair of the LRTA, if they elected designee, would that be permanent or would that be just for a specific meeting?
I would have to go. I'd have to go back. I think they could designate an alternate, but it has to be from that board. So it can't just be member of general public or staff or anything like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe in other communities, in other NPO regions, when they've identified an alternate list, it's only been through the length of time stated in the MOU, so it's not in perpetuity, but it's like a annual
1
or
year
biannual update.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it makes total sense. It's actually a good way to keep your quorum, like you said, Kelly. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Anything else on this, or are we ready to move on to the bike ped plan?
Is this something that I'm free to ask a question on?
Yeah, go ahead, David.
Okay, just a couple of questions, and I'm sorry because I had to take a call. So if you answered this, my apologies. When it says select board member from Northern Middlesex Council, Northern Middlesex community elected to serve on the council. So it's only one member from a select board from all the 9 MPO members, that's correct?
So our council, the NMCOG council, selects a representative from their body, and that representative also has to be a select board member. Right now, Pat fills that role. So that's a process that the NMCOG council conducts separately, but to ensure that we have representation from the council on the MPO.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that represents the council. That person represents the council and then the community. So the only voting members are the elected official from Lowell and a select board member from one of the other communities. So those are the only 2 we
This
have.
this whole column here are the voting members.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then as far as representatives from the smaller communities, who can that be? And is it preferred that you have a representative from each one of those committees? Because I'm here somewhat on behalf of the town of Dunstable, but that's something I'm going to be discussing with Jason. So trying to figure out details for that.
That's a good question. We have the MOU states that we have 1 seat for that role, but it could be someone from either Dunstable, Pepperell, or Tingsboro.
Okay.
So that's sort of just the idea is that we would have, right now we have probably more representation from our more densely populated communities, and maybe not as much representation from our more rural or suburban communities. So we would want to balance that out. That's the purpose of that role.
So it's 1 representative to represent all 3 of those communities.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I would just like to note that although the ex officio non-voting member list codifies, the different roles Kelly has listed here, all municipalities in the Northern Middlesex region are welcome to and even encouraged to participate in the MPO process. So if say like someone from Dunstable selected, but others from Pepperell and Tingsboro are still interested and want to be represented, they can and should still participate. Not only, using whomever the representative is for them as a voice, but they can and should feel welcome to attend these board meetings, to provide comment on any 3C planning documentation prepared by MPO staff and presented. So I just want to make sure that's clear. Everyone has a role in planning. Everyone.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great question, David. All right, I think we can continue on to the Greater Lowell Bike Ped Plan.
Great. This is actually just a quick update. I will follow up with some, as I'm going to send the tip review study report, I'll follow up with a link to this. We need your help as members of the MPO. We're as staff, we're working on the Greater Lowell Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan, and we have 3 opportunities out right now that we would love your help in both. We'd love to have you all take the survey. You can find a link to that survey at nimcog.org/GLBPP, and it's right up at the top. You can't miss it, and it's a big yellow box. The survey is available in 5 different languages. We're trying to get as much participation in this survey as possible. This is basically a survey around existing conditions. So to try to understand where barriers to walking and cycling and rolling are in our communities. We also have a workshop coming up on July 8th. It's going to be at the Lowell Senior Center. It's going to be kind of a hands-on workshop. So we'll be doing a lot of mapping exercises. Tool Design, who is our consultant on this project, will be presenting existing conditions, and then we'll be starting to dig into where people want to see improvements. And so if you can help us consider attending this public meeting and share it with your networks, that would be great. And then we also have maybe a more passive way to stay involved in the project, which is to join the mailing list. And that mailing list we'll be using to send updates, including frequent reminders to take the survey and sign up to attend the public meeting. We are all of us are on this team are kind of actively being out in the community right now. We're going to a lot of pop-up events, farmers markets, festivals, street fairs, to try to get participation in our communities. But I also just want to encourage people to take these more kind of digital and formal participation ways of sharing how they want to see the region improve from a bike and pedestrian perspective. That's
Thanks,
it for
Kelly.
this. Yeah.
I just texted the link to 3 people I know who live in the region.
Yay! Tell them to tell a friend too. Thanks.
I did.
All right.
I look forward to taking it myself as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or thoughts on the bike ped plan?
I
right.
took the survey yesterday, Kelly. It was quite simple, straightforward. Actually, it took a few minutes to fill out, so hopefully, we get those QR codes work wonders. So hopefully you get a good response from the, communities.
All right.
All right. Next we have a tip status report. I think this is from Tim Paris.
Hello. Tim Paris, the Mass DOT District 4 planning engineer. We just have one quick update on basically we've already talked about the project. It's the Billerica Yankee Doodle Bike Path Phase 1, project number 608227. And the update is just that the add date for it has just been pushed back a month to August, the end of August, when they're going to advertise that for construction.
Thank you, Tim. And just a note about the TFPCC on here, the total federal participating construction cost. We found out, I think yesterday morning or the day before, that it's just a hair over 24 million. So that was the $7 million delta we were talking about earlier. And the add date pushing out is to accommodate the TIP amendment that was voted on to release earlier this meeting. Thank you, Tim.
No problem.
Did Justin leave, or do we have anyone from LRTA with the transit update?
I don't see him on here, and I don't see anyone else from the LRTA.
Okay. Buses are rolling, trains coming into the station.
I know that the LRTA and other RTAs across the state are doing comprehensive regional transit plans. I think there's probably going to be a public meeting sometime soon, but I haven't heard of when that's going to be. So just a heads up that you might be seeing an invitation to that sometime soon.
Thanks for that update, Kelly.
Yeah.
I believe the next update is this walk-ins or other business. Yes.
Yeah. Just since you voted to release the TIP amendment, it should be TIP amendment 4, sorry, for a public hearing, that will be on July 2. We'll have a short meeting to hear anybody who wants to comment on that. And then the public comment period will go through the middle of July. If, as Derek noted, if we receive any adverse public comments, we'll let you know, and we'll coordinate a quick meeting to hear those comments and then have a vote to endorse. And then otherwise, we're not intending to have a meeting in July, so we would see you then at the end of August 27.
So long as there's actual business. We've had some August
Yeah.
meetings cancel in the past too, so just stay tuned to MPO staff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Can I please have a motion and second to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Then
All right. With that objection, we are adjourned. Everyone stay cool. Have a great summer. And
Thank you.
see you at the next meeting.
Thanks all.
Yep.
Thank you
Have a
all.
good one.
Bye.